Thugs harassed a young cashier after closing, not knowing the bikers were still inside the store. Eli Turner always volunteered for late shifts. He was only 19, quiet and thin, with a kindness that felt old-fashioned, like he'd learned to be gentle in a world that rarely offered the same in return. To most customers at Brickwood Gas and Deli in a small Arizona town, he was just the kid behind the counter. To Eli, though, every shift was a chance to help someone, whether that meant warming up a pot of coffee for a tired trucker or slipping a free donut to a crying little girl whose parents had nothing extra. But tonight, something felt different. The store clock blinked 11:58 p.m. Closing time. The last customers of the night weren't locals. They were bikers. 5 men in dark leather jackets, helmets hanging from one hand, boots dusty from long travel. Their appearance was intimidating, but their energy surprisingly calm. They spoke politely, bought water, jerky, and a couple of microwavable burritos, and they thanked Eli as they settled into the corner of the store's small dining area. "Take your time," Eli said with a smile. He had learned early, never judge kindness by clothing. He set about cleaning, wiping down counters, restocking the fridge. The place was nearly spotless by midnight. The thugs arrive. Just as Eli locked the front door, headlights swept across the glass. 3 men stepped out of a rusted pickup truck, loud, drunk, and careless. Their voices carried too easily through the quiet night. Eli stiffened. "We're closed," he called through the door. They banged on the glass. One man, heavy-set with a scar under his chin, leaned forward. "Come on, kid. Just want to buy some cigs." Eli shook his head. "Sorry, registers are closed." A fist slammed into the door, making Eli jump. "We said open." Eli's heartbeat pounded in his ears. He fumbled for his phone. Dead. Of course, he'd forgotten to charge it. He scanned the room. The bikers were still in the dining area, silent, watching. Eli swallowed. He didn't want trouble. Through the glass, he pointed them toward the gas pump. There was an ATM near it. Maybe they'd leave. Instead, the scarred man shoved the door harder. Eli had barely flipped the latch before they forced it open, pushing him back. "All right, kid," the scarred man said. "We're thirsty. You're gonna help us out." Eli tried to stay calm. I can't sell anymore. "The system..." The man grabbed Eli by the collar. "We don't care about the system." His friends spread out, one knocking over displays, another pulling energy drinks from the fridge. "Come on. Smile," the scarred man said, leaning in. "No reason to be rude." Eli's hands shook. He'd never been in a fight. The man shoved him again. "You deaf? We said take care of us." Eli stumbled, catching himself on the counter. The bikers rise. From the back, a deep voice cut through the chaos. "I think the kid said he's closed." The thugs turned. The 5 bikers stood, tall, broad, silent. Their jackets read, "Road Saints MC" in bold letters. The scarred man laughed. "Mind your business." "Grandpa's." The lead biker stepped forward. He was massive, gray in his beard, arms covered in old ink. But his eyes, steady, kind even. "This kid's just doing his job," he said. "You know that," the scarred man spat. "And who's gonna stop us?" The biker raised a brow. "You sure you want to find out?" The room went still. One of the thugs pulled a pocket knife, cheap metal glinting. The bikers didn't flinch. The leader spoke again, quieter this time. "Put it away. Walk out, nobody gets hurt." But drunken bravado is loud and foolish. The scarred man lunged. The biker caught his wrist midair, twisting the knife free. In one smooth motion, he set the man on the floor, face down, harmless. Lives in the other 2 froze. "You have 3 seconds, the leader said, and 1, 2. They bolted, dragging their friend toward the truck. Tires screeched as they sped into the night. Silence settled back into the store. Eli stared, breathless. After the storm, "You okay, kid?" the leader asked. Eli nodded, too stunned to speak. One biker retrieved the knife from the floor and slid it across the counter. Probably best to toss that. Another helped. "You'll pick up the scattered displays." "People can be idiots," the man said. "Glad we stayed late," Eli exhaled shakily. Thank you, I didn't know what to do. You did fine, the leader said. You stood your ground. That takes guts. Eli's face went pink. Still, he said softly, I wish I could have stopped them without needing help. The leader gave him a long look. Listen, he said. Strength isn't always about being the toughest in the room. Sometimes it's the courage to stay kind, especially when others aren't. Eli processed the words slowly. You hungry? Another biker asked. We've got food, but microwave's better. Eli blinked. He'd just been threatened, and now strangers were offering him dinner. He laughed shakily. Sure. They heated burritos. They sat around a small table, and for a moment the gas station felt like a diner full of friends. The men introduced themselves. Miles, the leader. Jack, Ray, Toby, and Moses. They were on their way home from a veterans charity ride in Texas. Miles said softly, places like this, they matter. Folks working late, keeping the lights on for strangers. People forget that. Eli listened, warmed, not just by food, but by the presence of people who saw him. The twist, a quiet secret. As they prepared to leave, Miles placed a folded envelope on the counter. For you, he said. Eli frowned. What is it? A tip, Miles said with a shrug. You dealt with something dangerous tonight. Consider this a thank you. Eli opened it, slowly. Inside was $1,000. His knees nearly gave out. I can't take this, he whispered. Miles shook his head. Sometimes, he said, kind people deserve a break. Eli's eyes stung. He had taken the job to support his mother, who worked 2 cleaning jobs and still fell short on rent some months. They'd been saving for a used car to get her to work safely. Now suddenly that dream felt real. You don't even know me, Eli said. Miles smiled gently. We know enough. He tapped the kid's chest. Your heart's in the right place. World could use more of that. The bell over the door chimed as they stepped outside, but the moment didn't end there. The thugs return. Redemption. Little did anyone expect. Minutes later, the rusted pickup rolled back. Eli tensed. Miles frowned. Stay inside, he instructed the kid. The truck door opened. Only one man stepped out. The scarred thug. Swagger, no anger, just shame in his eyes. He approached slowly, empty hands raised. I came to apologize, he said. Voice trembling, Eli froze. I was drunk. Stupid, the man continued. Didn't mean to scare you. Miles crossed his arms but stayed silent. The man swallowed. My daughter. She works nights too. If anyone hurt her, I'd lose it. He looked at Eli. I'm sorry, truly. Eli's heart softened. He nodded. Thank you for coming back. I appreciate it. The man exhaled shakily, like he'd been holding his breath for hours. Take care of yourself. Kid. He turned to leave. But Eli called out. You want some water for the road? The man hesitated. Then he nodded. Eli handed him a bottle. Their fingers brushed, and something human passed between them. Not forgiveness, but the beginning of it. The man walked away, shoulders a little lighter. Miles looked at Eli, astonished. You serious? After everything? Eli nodded. Maybe he just needed someone to treat him like a person. Miles grinned. You're something else. Did you see the message before riding off? Miles said. Life isn't about who looks toughest. It's about who lifts others when it counts. Tonight, you lifted more than you know. Eli stood outside as the road saints roared into the darkness, their taillights fading like embers. For the first time in months, he felt hopeful. Not because he'd survived a dangerous night, not because he'd been gifted money, but because he'd seen something rare. Humanity rising in unexpected places. A group of bikers who stepped up, a thug who came back to apologize, and a young cashier who held on to kindness when it mattered most. Later, as he rode home on his bike under a desert sky full of quiet stars, he thought, the world is messy, but compassion still finds a way. Ending note. The next morning, Eli and his mom visited a used car lot. They drove home in a small, reliable sedan, paid in full. Eli never told anyone the details of that night, but every time he saw a biker pass through town, he felt a quiet gratitude. Some people arrive at just the right moment. Some protect without being asked. Some teach without saying much at all. And some remind us that even in a broken world, kindness can circle back, stronger than before. Because humanity, when given a chance, still shows up. Everyday heroes aren't always loud. Sometimes they walk in wearing leather jackets and leave you with more than they ever took. Eli Pull. Thank you. If you ever need us, Miles added. For anything you call. I don't have your number, Eli said. Miles smirked. You will. We always find our own. And with that, the road saints mounted their bikes and disappeared down the open road, engines echoing against the sky. Driving home, Eli slid the patch into his wallet. Not as a trophy, but as a reminder. Kindness wasn't passive. It took courage, intent, choice. Months passed. The memory of the night softened but never faded. Eli saved more money, took community college classes, and planned for a future that once felt too far away. He still worked at the deli. Some nights were dull, some were funny, some were stressful, but none felt as frightening as that night, because he knew now he was never truly alone. One humid summer evening, as rain pounded the